Towards the end of Devarim, where we find ourselves, God issues one last instruction to Moshe. Kitvu lachem et hashira hazot velamda et bnei Yisrael. Write down this poem and teach it to the people of Israel. This verse introduces the long poem that Moshe is about to recite in Parashat Ha'azinu, the penultimate portion of the Torah. Rashi and other commentators understand God's words as commanding Moshe to write down only the words of the Ha'azinu poem. But Rava, a 3rd century Talmudic sage, understands these words far more expansively. He says that this divine command is the basis for each person's obligation to write their own Torah scroll. That is, the 613th mitzvah of the Torah is to write a Torah itself. Moshe Rabbeinu fulfilled this mitzvah by writing a Torah on the day he passed away. As the verse states, Moshe wrote down this song on that day and taught it to the children of Israel. Moshe finished writing the words of this Torah in a scroll until their very completion. If one is unable to write a Torah scroll, and that includes most of us, the sages say we can pay someone else to write it in our stead. Some individuals actually commission a scribe to write a new Torah scroll, but it's most common to fulfill this mitzvah by sponsoring letters, words, or verses when a shul commissions a Sefer Torah. Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson, the Chabad Rebbe, offered an interesting and useful interpretation of this mitzvah. He wrote that since the main purpose of the scroll is to read from it, and nowadays we read from it in the synagogue, a person can fulfill this obligation through the Torah scroll that is owned by the congregation. And as a member of the community, each person owns a part of the Torah scroll. But the Rebbe taught that one can also be considered a full owner of the scroll during the time that one actually reads from it or comes up for an aliyah. He wrote, "It's an unspoken agreement that whenever anybody is called to the Torah, all the community members temporarily give that person full ownership of the Torah for the duration of that aliyah. And when the aliyah is over, one then returns the ownership to the entire community. In this way, accepting an aliyah is another fulfillment of the mitzvah to write a scroll." Over time, this mitzvah was expanded in other ways by our poskim, our Jewish legal authorities. For the Rosh, a German-Spanish authority from the 12th and 13th centuries, the mitzvah need not be understood literally, but instead could be applied to books that are written for individual Torah study. And according to the 18th century commentator, Rabbi Avraham Danzig, a Jew's obligation was to own, though not necessarily write, a variety of sacred books for studying. For Rabbi Danzig, the essence of the mitzvah was to study Torah, and after the invention of printing, it became possible for far more Jews to own their own Sfarim. And nowadays, we have Sefaria, HebrewBooks.org, and many other resources for digitally accessing the Jewish canon. There's never been a time when Jewish learning, and My Jewish Learning, Rabbi Elliot Goldberg, shout out to your writing there. There's never been a time when Jewish learning is more accessible to the Jewish people. It's an exciting time for Jewish literacy and for the spreading of Jewish spiritual wisdom. And it's especially gratifying that a chorus of many diverse voices are now teaching Torah here and around the world. According to our sages, if a person writes their own Torah scroll, they're credited as though they had received the Torah personally at Mount Sinai. That is, they're on the same level as Moshe Rabbeinu. And if a person contributes financially or with their own hand, even a single letter in a Torah scroll, they are considered as having written it in its entirety. Because if the Torah were lacking even one letter, it would not be kosher or complete. I'm told that a Torah scroll is made up of 304,805 letters. Please raise your hand if you have counted them. Anyone? Rabbi Levi Yitzchak of Berdichev taught, just as the absence of one letter renders a Torah scroll unfit for use, the loss of even one person prevents us from fulfilling our divine mission. That is to say, if one of our people is missing in body or voice, if they're not included in the community or not included in the conversation, we're not complete as a people. Here at Bethel, we have plenty of opportunities for Torah study coming up in the year ahead, including our weekly Torah talk on Shabbat mornings, Project Zug through Hadar, my Midrash class and Rabbi O's Talmud class, which alternate on Wednesday mornings, Rabbi Elliot Goldberg's Mishnah class that has just started up, Dr. Alan Cooper's class on Rambam coming up starting in November, Cynthia Goldberg's Torah Trope class this winter, and many other tantalizing treats. In this new year, may each of us grow in our commitment to learning. May we each write and study our own scroll, contributing our voices to the longest ongoing book group on earth, as they say. The 11th century sage Bache Ibn Pekuda famously wrote, "Days are scrolls, write on them what you want to be remembered." In that spirit, let us inscribe the scrolls of our lives with words of Torah and deeds that reflect them. Shabbat Shalom.